Ghazi is an Arabic term originally referring to an individual who participates in Ghaz, meaning military expeditions or raiding. After the emergence of Islam, it took on new connotations of religious warfare. The related word Ghazwa is a singulative form meaning a battle or military expedition, or often one led by the Islamic prophet Muhammad. In English language literature the word often appears as razzia, a borrowing from French via Italian, in the context of the wars between Russia and the Muslim peoples of the Caucasus. Starting as early as the late 18th century's Sheikh Mansur's resistance to Russian expansion, the word usually appears in the form gazavat, Ghazi's raid, razzia. In medieval Bedouin culture, Ghaz was a form of limited warfare verging on brigandage that avoided head-on confrontations and instead emphasized raiding and looting, usually of livestock. The Umayyad period Bedouin poet al-Qutami read the oft-quoted verses, "Our business is to make raids on the enemy, on our neighbor and our own brother, in the event we find none to raid but a brother." William Montgomery Watt hypothesized that Muhammad found it useful to divert this continuous internecine warfare toward his enemies, making it the basis of his war strategy. According to Watt, the celebrated Battle of Badr started as one such razzia. As a form of warfare, the razzia was then mimicked by the Christian states of Iberia in the relations with the Taifa states. Rough synonyms and similar tactics are the Iberian cavalcade and the Anglo-French chevauchée. The word razzia is used in French colonial context, particularly for raids to plunder and capture slaves from among the people of Western and Central Africa, also known as rezo when practiced by the Tuareg. The word was adopted from Ghazi of Algerian Arabic vernacular and later became a figurative name for any active pillage, with its verb form razzia. Ghazi warrior. Ghazi is an Arabic word, the active participle of the verb gaza, meaning to carry out a military expedition or raid. The same verb can also mean to strive for, and Ghazi can thus share a similar meaning to mujahid, or one who struggles. The verbal noun of Gaza is gazw, gazawun, with the meaning raiding. A derived singulative in Ghazwa refers to a single battle or raid. The term Ghazi dates to at least the Samanid period, where he appears as a mercenary and frontier fighter in Khorasan and Transoxiana. Later, up to 20,000 of them took part in the Indian campaigns of Mahmud of Ghazni. Ghazi warriors depended upon plunder for the livelihood, and were prone to brigandage and sedition in times of peace. The corporations into which they organized themselves attracted adventurers, zealots and religious and political dissidents of all ethnicities. In time, though, soldiers of Turkic ethnicity predominated, mirroring the acquisition of Mamluks, Turkic slaves in the Mamluk retinues and guard corps of the caliphs and emirs, and in the ranks of the Ghazi corporation, some of whom would ultimately rise to military and later political dominance in various Muslim states. In the West, Turkic Ghazis made continual incursions along the Byzantine frontier zone, finding in the Akriti their Greek counterparts. After the Battle of Manzikert, these incursions intensified, and the region's people would see the Ghazi corporations coalesce into semi-chivalric fraternities, with the white cap and the club as their emblems. The height of the organizations would come during the Mongol conquest, when many of them fled from Persia and Turkestan into Anatolia. As organizations, the Ghazi corporations were fluid, reflecting the popular character, and individual Ghazi warriors would jump between them depending upon the prestige and success of a particular emir, rather like the mercenary bands around Western condottiere. It was from these Anatolian territories conquered during the Ghaz that the Ottoman Empire emerged, and in its legendary traditions it is said that its founder Osman I came forward as a Ghazi thanks to the inspiration of Sheikh Bali. In later periods of Islamic history, the honorific title of Ghazi was assumed by those Muslim rulers who showed conspicuous success in extending the domains of Islam, and eventually the honorific became exclusive to them, much as the Roman title imperator became the exclusive property of the supreme ruler of the Roman state and his family. The Ottomans were probably the first to adopt this practice, and in any case the institution of Ghaz reaches back to the beginnings of the state. By early Ottoman times it had become a title of honor and a claim to leadership. In an inscription of 1337, Orhan, second ruler of the Ottoman line, describes himself as Sultan, son of the Sultan of the Ghazis, Ghazi son of Ghazi, frontier lord of the horizons. The Ottoman poet Ahmedi, writing California, 1402, defines Ghazis as the instruments of God's religion, a servant of God who cleanses the earth from the filth of polytheism. The first 9 Ottoman chiefs all used Ghazi as part of the full throne name, and often afterwards. However, it never became a formal title within the ruler's formal style, unlike Sultan al-Mujahideen, used by Sultan Murad Khan II Kul-Ghazi, 6th sovereign of the House of Osman, styled Abul Hayrat, Sultan al-Mujahideen, Khan of Khans, Grand Sultan of Anatolia and Rumelia, and of the cities of Adrianople and Philippolis, because of the political legitimacy that would accrue to those bearing this title. Muslim rulers vied amongst themselves for preeminence in the Ghaziyya, with the Ottoman sultans generally acknowledged as excelling all others in this feat. For political reasons, the Ottoman sultans, also being the last dynasty of caliphs, attached the greatest importance to safeguarding and strengthening the reputation which they enjoyed as Ghazis in the Muslim world. When they won victories in the Gaza in the Balkans, they used to send accounts of them as well as slaves and booty to Eastern Muslim potentates. Christian knights captured by Bayezid at his victory over the Crusaders at Nicopolis in 1396, and sent to Cairo, Baghdad and Tabriz were paraded through the streets, and occasioned great demonstrations in favor of the Ottomans. Ghazi was also used as a title of honor in the Ottoman Empire, generally translated as the victorious, for military officers of high rank, who distinguished themselves in the field against non-Muslim enemies. Thus it was conferred on Osman Pasha after his famous defensive Plevna in Bulgaria, and on Mustafa Kemal Pasha for leading the defense against the Gallipoli campaign. Some Muslim rulers personally used the subsidiary style Padshah-i Ghazi. Muhammad's Ghazwa, which literally means campaigns, is typically used by biographers to refer to all the Prophet's journeys from Medina, whether to make peace treaties and preach Islam to the tribes, to go on Umrah, to pursue enemies who attacked Medina, or to engage in the 9 battles. Muhammad participated in 27 Ghazwa. The first Ghazwa he participated in was the invasion of Waddan in August 623. He ordered his followers to attack a Quraysh caravan. Operationally, when performed within the context of Islamic warfare, the Ghazw's function was to weaken the enemy's defenses in preparation for his eventual conquest and subjugation. Because the typical Ghaz raiding party often did not have the size of strength to seize military or territorial objectives, this usually meant sudden attacks on weakly defended targets with the intent of demoralizing the enemy and destroying material which could support The military forces. Though Islam's rules of warfare offered protection to non-combatants such as women, monastics and peasants, the property could still be looted or destroyed, and they themselves could be abducted and enslaved. The only way of avoiding the onslaughts of the Ghazis was to become subjects of the Islamic State. Non-Muslims acquired the status of dhimmis, living under its protection. Most Christian sources confuse these two stages in the Ottoman conquests. The Ottomans, however, were careful to abide by these rules. Faced with the terrifying onslaught of the Ghazis, the population living outside the confines of the empire, in the abode of war, often renounced the ineffective protection of Christian states, and sought refuge in subjection to the Ottoman Empire. Peasants in open country in particular lost nothing by this change. Cambridge History of Islam, p. 285. A good source on the conduct of the traditional Ghazw are the medieval Islamic jurists, whose discussions as to which conduct is allowed and which is forbidden in the course of warfare reveal some of the practices of this institution. One such source is Averroes Bidayat al-Mujtahid wa Nihayat al-Muqtasid. Ghazawat as Holy War. In the 19th century, Muslim fighters in North Caucasus who were resisting the Russian military operations declared a Ghazawat against the Russian Orthodox invasion. Although uncertain, it is believed that Dagestani Islamic scholar Muhammad Yeraghzi was the ideologist of this holy war. In 1825, a congress of ulama in the village of Yerag declared Ghazawat against the Russians. Its first leader was Ghazi Muhammad. After his death, Imam Shamal would eventually continue it. During the Second Chechen War, Chechnya announced Ghazawat against Russia. After the terrorist attacks on Paris in November 2015, the Islamic State group is said to have referred to its actions as Ghazwa. Probably the most famous use of the term Ghazwa is in the phrase Manhattan Raid, used by Al-Qaeda to refer to the September 11th attacks. Related terms: Akinci Raider, a later replacement for Ghazi. Al-Awazim, the Syrio-Anatolian frontier area between the Byzantine and various Caliphal empires. Rebut, fortified convent used by a militant religious order, most commonly used in North Africa. Thufra, an advanced frontier fortress. Ujay, Turkish term for frontier. Ujay was a title assumed by early Ottoman rulers, later replaced by Sirhad.